Hey, good afternoon. This is the Sales Drive Home. This is Dennis driving home, talking about things about sales, especially the automotive industry. But we'll talk about anything. We ain't proud. So thanks for joining me. We are going to drive home today and we are going to talk about some sales stuff. This is the Sales Drive Home. It's a Monday edition. Monday. Hope y'all had a good day, and again, thanks for joining me. Appreciate it. So we're gonna jump right into it because we got to talking today. I was thinking about some things to talk about, and then at the end of the day, a friend of mine called, and he's taking over a store that is a disaster. And we're always talking about, I always try and be positive and put a positive spin on things, but sometimes you got to come out and just say it. Sometimes things suck. And so if you're going into a store, let's say you're going into a car store and it is just a disaster, where do you start? What's a good place to start with that? I mean, I guess the first kind of question is, why is it the disaster that it is? And, from the outside, sometimes you don't know. Sometimes it's pretty easy to see. I've gone into a couple of stores. I mean, the facilities weren't good. I've gone into some bad stores. And so you got to start somewhere. I took over a store that used to be really, really nice. And then it just wasn't anymore. It was dirty. I mean, it was just nasty. And so, sometimes with something like that, you just got to start with the basics. When you take over the store, you just got to jump in. Someday you just got to wear some work clothes to work and just take a bottle and a rag and start cleaning, because sometimes that's what it is. Sometimes it's reflected in the filth that is there. I mean, and you can just tell. You've been in stores like that before, probably, where it's just like, I mean, there's nothing good about it. And so that's kind of an easy one, right? You can sometimes turn around a store just by cleaning it up. The same thing. I worked for Domino's Pizza and took over a couple of stores for them. I mean, right when they first introduced pizza a long time ago. But when I was working for Domino's, I took over a couple of stores. And one of the first things that you do, I mean, you go in and you clean the grout between the tiles because it's black with filth, and you clean that all out so that you got nice, clean, white grout between your tiles. You clean all the windows. You just trash everything on every desk in there. I mean, just go through and just throw everything away. And so sometimes it's that easy. And sometimes you can walk into a store and you can see that maybe it goes a little bit deeper. And what happens is that stores like that are just filthy dirty, the managers, whoever's been managing it, maybe it's an absentee owner, they're not around, and you walk in and you start cleaning and you get it all cleaned up. And sometimes the people go along with that. Not that the people are dirty, but sometimes they're so used to just walking in and it's just depressing and dank and dark and ugh. And you start cleaning, they start cleaning, everybody starts cleaning. Sometimes that's what it takes, right? Sometimes just that motion, just the energy that creates can make a difference. But sometimes you walk into a store that's a clean store. Sometimes you walk in and you're like, this is nice. And so so sometimes you walk into a store and it's not that obvious. Sometimes you walk in and it's like, well, this is nice. This is a nice place. How come they're selling whatever they're selling? So then it becomes a little bit more work. The the cleaning, the getting on your knees and scrubbing the floor and throwing stuff, that's easy. But sometimes it's a little bit more work, right? Sometimes it's maybe not the atmosphere. No, it's maybe not the physical atmosphere. Sometimes it's the personnel that you've got. Sometimes it's advertising. Sometimes you stare at it for a while and you just can't figure it out. You just have to get in there and start and see what's going on. But usually what you find is that in a store that doesn't have the obvious, we just got to clean this out. We got to start again. Sometimes if you don't have that obvious issue. So sometimes when you walk into a store and it just doesn't have that obvious issue, you start digging and it seems like you've got good salespeople, it seems like your inventory is good, it seems like everything's right, but nothing's happening. And so that's a harder position, and sometimes what it takes is just going and saying, I don't know what's wrong, but I'm going to fix it when I find it. But I think everything that is usually wrong with a store that's not producing, and a lot has to do, you can circle back and say, oh, we're not on TV, we're not on radio, we're not doing this, we're not advertising, the owner don't give us any money to advertise, boo-hoo. But really, once you circle back and you start sifting through the layers that are there, and maybe that's true, maybe there's not enough advertising and maybe that's something that you have to address, or maybe they do a lot of advertising and it's the wrong advertising. More often than not, that's the case. More often than not, a store might be advertising, or maybe they have advertised in the past a lot, got no results, and so stopped advertising. And, so the owner's gotten burned. Maybe he's got a bad ad agency. Maybe he's got no ad agency. Maybe he's just throwing money at a store that he can't fix. So sometimes you can't control that, though. Sometimes that external issue, I don't spend enough on advertising. That's an external issue that I can't fix. Eventually, hopefully I can, but really, doesn't it always come down to people? And sometimes, unfortunately, it comes down to who seems like the very best salesperson that you got. Because maybe they are anti-team. Maybe they are not a team player. Maybe they are just not what you need. Maybe the owner is, Johnny sells 15 cars a month and we only sell 30 cars. He sells half our cars. Or maybe he sells 20 cars and we only sell 30 cars. So either we need to get Johnny some help. Maybe the role players around Johnny, they just ain't there. Or maybe Johnny's your problem. Because anybody new that comes in with energy, somebody new in the sales game, somebody new that's just come from another dealership and is ready to go, Johnny shoots them down. He negs them out. He is the king of negativity. Because Johnny likes being number one. And it's easy because there ain't no competition because he runs them all off. Maybe the sales managers that have been there have just let him run wild because he's my number one guy. Without him, what would I do? Man, if that's the position that you're at a store, man, he's my number one guy. Without him, what would I do? I think there's your problem. So, sometimes when you take over a store, super easy, right? It is, man, the store is filthy. You got no talent, zero talent. You don't even have a Johnny. You got nobody. And it's just start from scratch. Sometimes it's a little bit more. Sometimes it can be, advertising. Sometimes it can be lack of talent in the team. Sometimes it can be the team. And so when you first take over that store, it would be nice to be able to walk in and kind of know the issues and hack them right away. But sometimes you need to give it a couple of weeks. See what everybody knows, see what everybody is capable of, and then make some decisions. Because really, you know what? Not filthy dirty. But if you've got talent, if your team is talented and they are willing to work, the condition of the store, yeah, you want it to be clean. But if it ain't brand new, if it's not perfect, if you can just make it work and you can create the experience, if you create the customer experience even without the best facility, maybe you don't have the best facility in the world. Maybe your store is a 20-year-old, used to be Land Rover store, but the Land Rover store moved out to the good part of town and left this dealership here, and so they've thrown whatever franchise is there now. Used to be beautiful, now it's not. But you know what? If you can create the right experience, if you can create the customer experience that starts with your people, then you can get around that facility. So, if you're going to take over a store, sometimes it's a great thing. Sometimes it's a good thing to come in, kind of just maybe before anybody knows anything, just kind of observe some things, gives you a better feel for what you're dealing with. Sometimes you don't have the luxury. Sometimes you just get the key and they say, here you go. Let's go. Make it happen. And if that's the case, that's okay. Jump in there, start to work. If somebody gave you the key to the store and said, make it work, then obviously at some point in your career, you've done it. You've made something work. So just go with what you know. Touch every customer, touch every lead, because then it becomes a managing point. Then it becomes a motivational exercise. Because if things are just horrible, you get to celebrate. Because, usually in like sales meetings, they always say one of the guides to motivating sales meetings is celebrate the big successes. If you ain't got no big successes, celebrate the little ones. Holy cow, we sold a car today. Let's go buy a cake and let's have a party. We sold a car. Tomorrow we sold a car. We're going to have tacos today. We sold a car. Third day, we sold another car. Cool. Maybe we sold 2. And you get to celebrate those little successes. And eventually, then you begin to get that momentum, right? That the momentum that gets you the big successes. But if all you got's little successes, take it. Celebrate. Take the team that you got, the team that you think you're moving forward with, make something happen and celebrate it. Hell, if your store is that dirty, celebrate the fact that you went in and you can now see what color the tile is. Celebrate that. Yay, guys. Yay, team. Good job. We got a clean store now. Celebrate that. First car. Celebrate that. First salesperson set an appointment that they've never done before. Celebrate that. Celebrate the little things. If you can do that, if you can go in, kind of get your bearings. And one final point, sometimes you got to make those decisions that seem hard, right? They seem painful. They seem like this is not going to work for me. But you've eliminated all the other possibilities, and you're down to one that you got to make a decision. Am I going to go on and drag along, or am I going to make something different happen? Because what's the saying, right? I don't know the saying. I'm asking you guys. What's the saying? Insanity. The definition of insanity is, come on, I'm letting you out. The definition of insanity is repeating the same things and expecting a different outcome. So yeah, maybe you're new there, but everybody else is the same, and if they keep doing the same thing that they had been doing, then guess what? It ain't gonna work. So sometimes you got to change things, and even if you're not taking over a store, even if you're just not where you want to be, sometimes you got to make hard decisions, and that's what it's all about. So I hit my exit here. Thanks for joining me. I appreciated talking to you today. This is Dennis from thesalesdrive.com. Thanks for joining the Sales Drive home. And if you want to email me, the Sales Drive, me, Dennis, at thesalesdrive.com.